All right, there we go. It's working now. Yep. Okay, so sorry you missed the first part of that. Sorry it took so long for me to come back on. Had some issues with the cameras. Not really sure what's going on, but this is our plan F. So you won't unfortunately be able to see what I'm cooking, which really sucks, but it is what it is. I can at least talk you through it. So basically, I've peeled 3 potatoes and I'm dicing them here. We're cutting them to about this size. We're cutting the potato in half, and that half in half again, so they're quartered, and then we're just cutting those into cubes. And that's what we're going to do. While also our oil is heating up for our chicken, we're using a cast iron pan here, one of my favorite tools. Yeah. So you always want to cook potatoes. The trick we use in the kitchens is if it grows below ground, you want to start it cold. So if it grows above ground, you want to cook it in hot water. So potatoes grow under the ground, so we cook it in cold water. So that would go for turnips, beets, carrots, anything like that. Parsnips, so on and so forth. So that doesn't mean that you can't, but it just means that they turn out better if you do it that way. So potatoes get real starchy and weird if you start them in boiling water. They definitely do a lot better in cold water. So gonna get these guys going here. You turn the water. Oh, I got the water on. Then you want to make sure you season the water nicely. You know, we would like to avoid seasoning the potatoes after they're cooked. It'd be much better to have them fully seasoned beforehand. So, all right, now we're going to cut the veggies for our green beans. We're going to do some green beans with onions and garlic and some bacon. So I'm going to do the way I like to cut it, which is the French cut on the onion. My knife needs a quick little honing, I'll tell you that. Let me sharpen her up here. That's better. All right. So just peel these onions here real quick. Get this out of here. Yeah, we're just going to do our basic French cut here. You know, so just a nice quick little slice. Just like that. Now, as I mentioned in the other stream, which if you're following both of these, bless your heart, I don't have what I usually use in my dredge. I only have, typically I use garlic powder for my dredge, garlic powder, salt, pepper. I don't have any garlic powder, so instead I'm going to use just fresh garlic, and we'll see how that turns out. I've never done this before for this recipe. So either the garlic's going to burn and taste disgusting, or it's going to be absolutely delicious. We will see what happens. So yeah, so I'm just going to peel all these garlic cloves here. Just cut off the base. Give them the little squish to get the skin off. Again, I'm not squishing it till it's broken. I'm just a little bit, so it still keeps most of its integrity. Just like that. Cut off the nasty bits. Some brown bit there. All right, so now I'm going to slice the garlic for the green beans, which are going to be these 3 cloves. So nice thin slices. Just like such. You know, it doesn't need to be perfect. So now for our dredge, I'm going to smash these until they're somewhat flat. Then I'm going to slice them real thin, going long ways, so that the slices look like kind of look like this. All right, so long ways, not the short ways, like that. So I'm basically smashing it and then cutting it like that, okay? Now, once that's done, I'm just gonna kind of like chop these up and we're gonna mince it. So let me do the other one. We'll get these nice and minced up. All right, so now let's just chop these up nice and fine. You could also make like a paste with this if you wanted. You could probably use a paste in general. I don't know, I've never done that. I don't use garlic paste, I always use fresh garlic. I guess that's not true. When we were making Indian food, I used this garlic ginger paste because apparently that's just what most home Indian cooks use. So, you know, I mean, when in Rome, right? But outside of that, I've never really used a garlic paste. I will say, however, that stuff was fantastic. I mean, you know, it's not as good as fresh. Obviously, fresh is always the best. But when you're working with 40 ingredients, it's a nice little reprieve. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the garlic, we're going to put it in our flour. So I just have some flour here. Oh, and we're tilted. Just saw that. Okay. That's lovely. Tilt you back. All right. We're going to throw all the garlic in here. So just like that. And then I'm going to take about, so we have this much flour, and I want to take about 1/3 to 1/2 about the amount of cornstarch here. And that's the secret to a good fried chicken, is cornstarch. So we add that in. We're going to season, not super liberally, but definitely well enough. We want the flour to be seasoned well. We're going to add some pepper. Okay. Just like that. Just like that. And now we're going to mix this all in. And that's going to be our dredge for the chicken, okay? So, we've got our chicken dredge. Let's clear this out of here. Now, a part that I did beforehand, because it kind of takes overnight. So, I kind of jumped ahead. But for the chicken, what we want to do is we're going to take basically a Ziploc bag here. And we need to marinate the chicken overnight. So, again, I already did this part, but I'm going to show you what I did exactly. So we're going to take a pan. Let me get this into a container here. All right. So we're going to take a pan that we can put the chicken in. We're going to take our chicken. Grab a couple other ingredients while I'm in there. We're going to take our chicken here. We're using thighs because personally I like thighs and they're cheap. And then I don't know, I have a thing with raw chicken. I don't particularly like touching it. So I always put a glove on. I don't know. It goes back to my early culinary days. It was just something we didn't particularly like. And you can trim off a lot of this stuff here. You know, you probably should. You know, I'm going to, just to exemplify exactly what you should do. So we're going to cut off some of this excess skin and fat. Not a lot, just enough so that it's, you know, the way it should. So it should look kind of like that. You know, a little bit of skin, a little bit of fat, but not like this where it's covered in it. So I'm just going to take that big piece of skin off. And we're not going to throw that out. We're going to use that. We're going to put it in a stock or something and, you know, render the fat and then use all that. So there's that. Let me get rid of this knife. It's now covered in chicken shit. And I've already dirtied my hands, so let me wash my hands again. There's one thing I don't mess with cross-contamination with, it's chicken. Other things you can be a little bit more lax with, but chicken you definitely need to be careful. So Now, since I already dirtied my hands, I guess we'll just go full tilt on this. Can't really put gloves on wet hands. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our chicken and we're gonna season it liberally, just like that. Nice and coated, not crusted, but nice and coated. I'm gonna do that. Then I'm gonna flip it on the other side. Same thing. Okay. Now, we're gonna take this, and you see how I kind of like rolled the bag over like that? This is so that I don't get chicken on the outside and I can just get it on the inside. So we're gonna throw these pieces of chicken in here, like such. All right. Get rid of that. Wash our hands again. And very careful with chicken. All right, we get rid of this guy. And then what we do is we make our own yogurt. So you can use just buttermilk if you want. You could use heavy cream with a little bit of vinegar. You can do exactly what I'm doing, which is use yogurt. So I'm going to take the chicken. I'm going to throw some yogurt in, just about like that, half a cup at most. Does not need much. And one of the cool things that's going to happen here is because we salted it, a lot of the liquid from the chicken is going to come out, and it's going to create kind of like a yogurt brine, if you would, which really does a nice job of making sure the chicken's fully seasoned. So I'm going to squeeze out as much of that air as I can, squeeze it down here, and then I'm just going to mix it up just like that. Make sure the chicken's fully coated in that yogurt. And that yogurt's going to get nice and salty. Then overnight, it's going to do the whole osmosis thing that brines and marinades do. And it's going to get nice and delicious. So that's how you marinate the chicken. I'm just going to roll it up. I'm going to put this back in the fridge. And then I'm going to pull out, with the magic of pre-preparation, the chicken that's already been marinated. So our potatoes are about to boil. I don't really want them to boil. I want them to basically simmer, and we're going to let them cook like that. Now, we have the pre-marinated chicken here. Let me throw a glove on. It's going to be hard to get all this dredge off my hands, just to be honest. All right. Let me get that going. I'm going to turn the oven on to a warming temperature of 170. Basically whatever the lowest temperature is that you can do. And then, yeah, so you see here now, see it's already significantly more liquidy. That's all that moisture that came out of the chicken that the salt brought out. So now we have this nice kind of like buttermilk looking thing going on. So we're just going to kind of toss this in here nice and gently. Let's get all that dredge and all those crevices, and just get it nice and dredged here. Okay, yeah, just like such. And we're just going to leave it in there until the oil's hot, which we're at about 280. So while that heats up, I'm going to grab another beer, and we'll do a tasting. Okay, so here's the beer that I want to have for fried chicken. It's called Boulevard, and we're at an angle again. Jesus. Hang on, let me try to fix this here real quick. Oh my. Oh my. Oh no. It's all messed up, and I lost picture. All right, let's see here. Let's try this again. Hang on. Okay, come on. You got it. Let's see if this works. All right. Hopefully that brought us back on picture. I have no idea. Doesn't look it. All right. Let me, Lord have mercy. Maybe we'll do a tasting. Let me try and fix this. All right, there we go. Looks like we're up and running again. Sorry about that. Okay. So, like I said, Tank 7 is what I have. This is an American Saison. It's got a lot of hops in it for a Saison, a lot of American hops. It's one of our favorite beers. But this is really good with fried food because of the effervescence and things like that. And then also the hoppiness does a really nice job of cutting through the fat and fried nature of fried chicken. So we see that nice, bright, brilliant white head, slightly or fairly hazy, and just instantly Saison yeast and citrus notes from those hops. You definitely get those coriander, bubblegummy kind of aromas, again, from the yeast. Delicious. Yeah, nice and a little bit of sweetness to it. They add some sugar to it. There's a little bit of sweetness. Chewy, cracker, nice. Yeah, it's just a good beer overall. All right, so we're going to take our chicken now. We're going to put it in our hot oil, skin side down first. We're going to take our other piece and do the exact same thing. Just in this little dredge here. We're just going to toss it. Make sure all those crevices have breading and dredge in it. So you want to make sure you don't overfill your oil, but you also want to make sure it's not like super underfilled either. So that's kind of what I did here. It might be a little full. We'll find out if it boils over and I catch the house on fire, but I think we'll be all right. So put that in there like that. Beautiful. So you can't see, but basically there's about 1/4 of an inch of the chicken sticking out of the top, which is basically exactly what we want. A little bit of chicken sticking out the top, but not a lot. So it is touching the bottom of the pan, which means that it is going to brown more for the pieces that are touching the bottom. So we are going to have to flip this, of course. I'm going to turn this down a bit. We're done with that. That can get thrown out. If you do want to save it for another night, make sure you refrigerate it, which is completely fine, but you can't just keep it out in the open air. So, all right, while that does that, let's get the finish with the green beans. So I have some washed green beans over here. Let me grab my knife, which needs to be cleaned because it cut chicken. Okay. Grab my knife, and we're just going to kind of cut these into like little 1.5 to 2 inch bits. That way it's nice and easy to eat. Looks home style-y. Again, these are cleaned, the tips are cut off, all that goodness. Nothing crazy, they're just green beans, you want to cut off the piece that basically has the stem on it. Just like that. All right, one more round. We can put all these back in here. Right. So green beans are cut. This browned really fast, but I'm telling you that's mainly just the skin and the fat. Yeah, you see that's not really that brown. I'm going to flip it, however, because I don't want it to burn. It is going to cool down. This was the first one in, so that makes sense that it's a little bit darker. We're going to flip it at least one more time. But like I said, I just don't want it to burn on that side. So until the oil cools down a bit, we're just going to cook it like such. All right. The potatoes are going. Not really close. Oh, actually, they're not as far off as I thought they were. There's a couple different ways you can test potatoes. The best way is just by sticking a knife in it. It should go in easy, and you should not feel too much give. There's not a ton of give here, but I can tell you from experience, they're still not quite done. Another way is if they squish real easy in the tongs, then they're probably done. These are like, they need like another couple minutes, and then they're done. We're also going to put butter in the mashed potatoes in case you've never made them. It's butter, milk, and cream. You can always just substitute half and half, or cream, or just milk, or whatever you have. Typically, we use yogurt because it's what we have on hand. That's what I use a lot of. I don't typically have milk and cream on hand. Yogurt makes a great one. Sour cream makes great. Or if you're feeling super decadent, you can just use straight butter. But that's a bit expensive and it's very fattening. So these are going to take probably about 20 to 25 minutes. I'm going to flip this one here. You see how good that looks already? I'm curious how the garlic dredge is going to work out. Like I said, I've never done it before with fresh garlic, so I'm very intrigued. But back to the beer. This Tank 7 is from Boulevard. It's got a pretty cool story. Basically, here, I'll just read it. While experimenting with Belgian-style farmhouse ales, the perfect combination of elements fortuitously came together in Cantankerous Fermenter number 7. That's why they call it Tank 7. So basically what happened is they had this tank called Tank 7 that they just couldn't get things to ferment correctly, and they could never get the beers to come out the way that they wanted. And, you know, as I said, they were messing around with some Belgian things like that, and they put this Saison in there, and there was something magical about whether it was the shape or something about the fermenter that made the yeast ferment in a certain way, and then that's how they came up with this beer, and they still make it today with that fermenter. And it's delicious. It's a fantastic Saison. It's absolutely out of this world. What's the alcohol on it? I think it's like a 8.5, by the way. We're going deep tonight. It's a lot of booze for a Monday, I'll tell you what. Potatoes still need a bit more time. They're not quite tender enough. So we got our green beans cut. I got some bacon cut too, which I didn't do live, which I guess I could have. I wasn't thinking about how much time I would have. But, you know, it is what it is. So I figured out this fried chicken recipe when I had to come up with a quick dish at one of the restaurants I was at, and we needed a sandwich of sorts. And I didn't want to do a hamburger because I thought that would be too much. And frankly, we had a ton of deep fryers because we were known for our French fries. So I really wanted to utilize the equipment that we had. And I thought, you know, people love fried chicken sandwiches, so let's do fried chicken. And I never really, I mean, I'd done fried chicken, you know, I'm an American, you know, we eat fried chicken. My father used to make fried chicken once a week or whatever, and he did it his own way. But I was never really a fan of it in the sense other than like what you would call like country fried chicken. It was a very shallow fry. So this is like more of a, this is still considered a shallow fry, but I mean, like when I say shallow fry for him, he did like maybe an inch of oil, like maybe, probably closer to a quarter. So basically it was dredged chicken that was just seared. And it was good, don't get me wrong, it was really good. You could make a great gravy with it. I loved it, but I wanted to make a deep fried chicken sandwich. So basically it was just happenstance. You know, I thought like I like salt, pepper, garlic. I know that like Korean fried chicken, they use like 100% cornstarch, which gives them that super crispy chicken, but unfortunately doesn't really give that nice you know, crust. The dredge that we associate with American fried chicken, it's a very light, crunchy crust. But I still wanted that crunch, but I wanted that nice, again, that like that Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken. So we ended up using basically what we did for like calamari, which was a 3-to-1 ratio of cornstarch to flour. And we just used salt and pepper for that, which was fine. But I wanted something a little bit more. So honestly, the first thing we tried adding, instead of going all overboard, you know, like you do for scientific things, you add one variable at a time. So the first variable that we added was garlic powder. And frankly, once we tasted it, we were like, that's it. We don't need anything else. We don't need any herbs or anything else. Like, this is perfect. Just salt, pepper, garlic powder, that's it. You don't need anything else. Anything more makes it too complicated. So that's what we stuck with. And then the other thing that we did was we took the chicken breast and we put it through what's called a cuber. If you ever had cube steak, it's the same thing. It's basically got little blades on it. It turns, you cube it, you turn it, you cube it again, and it makes super tender whatever it is that you're doing. It's usually used for like steaks that are not tender. We did that with the chicken, and it made the best chicken sandwiches you've ever had. So we're using the same dredge here. So I'm gonna flip this again. You see how it's getting nice and dark on the other side? Like that's more or less the color we're looking for. So it's cooled down a little bit. I did turn it back up just a hair. We're gonna turn these back over. And you know, you probably shouldn't flip it so much, but I really, really, really want to avoid burning it. So I'm gonna make sure that it's not burnt, and I'm gonna flip it a couple of times. All right, so these potatoes are just about done. I'm gonna actually, because I'm not 100% positive, I'm gonna pull out one. And I'm gonna see how it tastes. Oof, it's hot. All right. The seasoning is perfect, and they're perfectly cooked. So I'm going to kill the heat on these. I'm going to grab what's called a food mill. And this here, folks, this is the trick to restaurant grade mashed potatoes. This thing is old and broken and awful, so it might get stuck on me, which will be really awful for me and hopefully funny for you to watch me have to deal with it. But let's hope that doesn't happen, because I really hate it when it does. But anyway, so we're going to take the food mill. We're going to drain out the potatoes from it using the food mill. All right. Get as much of that water off as we can. And then we just put it right back in here. All right. Let me move these guys. I don't want to burn my cutting board, so I'm just going to throw a towel on it. Not that the pan should be so hot that it burns it, but better be safe than sorry. Let me turn this down. This is getting a little hot here. And then, so the way you use a food mill is you basically just turn it a couple of times in the milling direction, and you turn it back once or twice in the other direction. It just kind of scrapes the bottom. You just want to do that with these potatoes until they start to go through. Use a rubber spatula to push it down. And then, oh, yep, see, it just came out. I knew that was going to happen. This thing's been doing that for frickin' months. I don't know why it does it. And then it works fine. Like, the thing is then it works fine once I fix it. This piece of garbage I need to get a new one. I promise you, it's worth it when you don't have a garbage food mill. When you have one that really sucks, it makes this process pretty terrible. Oh, also, did I mention it's boiling hot? So that's super cool. So I got to get this guy in the center here. Get it in the hole. There it is. All right. Let's see. Can I do this without taking out all the mashed potatoes? I don't know. Yeah. And look, now it works just fine. I don't know why. It's a mechanical thing. It's not technology. Everything is against me tonight. I don't know if you noticed that. Nothing wants me to succeed. I guess that's what happens when you go live. But so I didn't even need this. That was nice. Didn't have to dirty something else. So now we're just, so now we're just turning this. We're pushing it right through. Once it breaks down a bit, this happens a lot faster. The whole idea with mashed potatoes is you want to mix it as little as possible. And I know it looks like I'm mixing it a lot, but I'm really not. All I'm doing is I'm forcing it through these little holes in the food mill. So it's really not getting mixed. But this is the key to great mashed potatoes. You can literally make mashed potatoes 100 different ways, and none of which are wrong. But if you want the best, the most fluffiest mashed potatoes, this is how you do it. All right. So most of the potatoes are through that. I'm just going to scrape the bottom, get the rest of the puree in there. That goes in the sink. All right. Get rid of all this. All right, now we're going to put some butter in here. I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons, give or take. Says I cut butter in general. I like to cut them in cubes. It's just what I do. Not right, it's not wrong. It's just what I do again. So get those in that. Make sure it's covered in the mash. Again, I'm trying not to stir this. I'm folding it more than anything. And really, I'm just looking for those potatoes to melt that butter. While that happens, I'm going to also add some milk. This is actually half and half. Let me leave that out just in case. I'm just going to slowly kind of fold it, just like that. And I personally do not like pepper in my potatoes. I like it just to have salt. You'll kind of learn that about me. I'm more of a simplist. Like I don't like to overpower things. I like the ingredients or whatever it is I'm doing to speak for themselves. So what we're looking for here more than anything is texture. I'd say we're there. Oh man, those are so good. They might, I was gonna say they might be a little salty, but I think they're perfect. So I'm gonna just not move those. I'm gonna let the butter melt the rest of the way. Once it's fully melted, I'm gonna get those in the oven here to stay warm. All right, we got the chicken. Oh yeah, look at that. It's getting nice and dark. This is why you flip it a couple of times, because it can take a good amount of getting dark, but at the same time, we wanna make sure that it's not burning. So let's, there's a few things in this world that I tempt. One of them is chicken. I don't mess around with chicken. All right, we're at about 140. So we're going to give that guy a bit longer. And just like when we cooked the bratwurst, we did stick this in something that wasn't fully cooked. Oh, that's done. This one's done. Let me just make sure. You want to get it right next to the bone too. Yeah, see now it's going down to about 150. So yeah, when you stick it in, you want to make sure you get it right next to the bone because that's going to be the coldest part of the chicken. So we're at about 150 there. It needs another couple minutes for sure. And then it'll carry over a bit. So we'll get it to like 160, 165. let it sit in the oven for about 5 minutes or so, basically long enough until we cook the green beans. Yeah. All right, so this stuff, butter's nice and melted here. We are going to cover this with plastic wrap. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Plastic wrap can go in the oven. It does not necessarily melt, especially at a low oven temperature. You can also use it if you don't have a lid. If you're just cooking like something like in a pot like this, like if you're boiling it, you could just use it as a lid. Little chef trick there for you. I'm going to throw that in there like such. Give those another couple of minutes. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these guys over here because this is cast iron. I don't have to worry about the size of the what's it called? The burner. Jeez Louise. My brain. So we're just going to put it back over there. I'm going to move this. Looks like I got some oil on here, which I didn't even know. Let me wipe that off. And then, yeah, let's get the pan going for the green beans. So we're going to turn this up to mid-high. This is going to heat up real quick because it's French steel. French steel takes no time at all to heat up, which is one of the reasons I love it, because it's also thick, it retains heat. They're basically non-stick without being Teflon. Getting there, getting there, getting there. I'm going to add a little bit of clarified butter. If you don't have clarified butter on hand, I suggest you get your life together. I didn't do this until literally 6 months ago. For whatever reason, I don't know why I never had it on hand. It's something in restaurants I always had available, but in my house I never did, and I'll never go back now. So there's that. All right, so we're getting warm here. I'm gonna add the bacon. You can hear that it's not quite hot yet. I probably could have waited another couple of seconds, but to be honest, I don't really want it to burn. I just want it to render nicely, so it's fine. So our oil's cooling down. We don't want to let the oil get too cold because that's how the chicken gets soggy. So I'm going to make sure it gets back up to temp here. All right, we're going to cut some pads of butter because that's how we're going to finish our green beans. Literally just a couple of pads. Not a lot, just a little bit. Just a little bit. We want to finish our green beans with some butter. I'm going to grab a little bit of demi as well. So we're going to make kind of like a quick little, like, it's going to be like a glazed sauce for the green beans, you know what I mean? We're going to cook the bacon, get this nice and rendered. Oops. You know, just like such. There's some good American-style fried chicken here, I tell you what. Like I said in the other stream, this is kind of the way my mother did it growing up, but I've added some sophisticated points to it. We would always call these greasy beans growing up. I don't know where she got that. You know, where, what is it called? German, not German Irish. Pennsylvania Dutch is who we are, our family. So I don't know, like the most boring Germans, I guess. But in America here, they were known as the basically like the culinarians of America back in colonial times and early days. So, all right, this guy's done. I'm gonna put him on a pan. Let's check this guy. Hopefully he's pretty close. Oopsies. I'd say that's good. So we're gonna get this guy on a pan too. And like I said, these are gonna carry over cook significantly. They're such big pieces of chicken, and frankly, they've been cooking in oil. So we're just gonna get those in the oven. So our bacon's starting to brown a little bit, which is good. It's rendering nicely. Just scrape them up here. Make sure they're cooking evenly, which they're not, but it'll be okay. We're just gonna let these render a bit more. Remember, when we add the other veggies, the bacon stops browning for the most part. It'll brown a little bit, but we want to get it like 80 to 90% as brown as we want it, because the onions and garlic are going to cool down the oil to where it doesn't really brown it so much anymore. We want to get it almost all the way. You don't want to get it thinking that it's going to brown more, because it's not. It's going to stop once you start adding veggies. So we want to get it almost all the way there. All right, so now we're almost all the way there, and it happens quick. You saw how fast that was. Now we're going to add our garlic and onions, and we're just going to let these cook until they're just cooked down a little bit. You know, the green beans take a bit longer to cook than maybe some people think. I always have to remind myself that they don't just cook immediately. You know, in restaurants, we blanch them first. So, like, literally, all we're looking to do is get a little bit of brown on them and hot, and then they're done. But we're cooking these raw because I don't want to dirty another pot. And there's really no need to. I mean, we can just use the water from the green beans to cook it. So, it's fine. So, yeah, we're just letting these cook. These onions are going to turn translucent here. Once they get there, then we're going to add the green beans. Then the onions will get a little bit of browning because they've cooked longer than the green beans. The green beans will also get a little bit of browning, but not as much as the onions. And there. So now so the onions have changed translucent already. So it's fast. Now we add the green beans. We're going to toss them. Season. Remember, we season at every stage. That's how we build flavors. Okay. Now, we're going to turn it to medium. We're going to put a lid on it. And that's going to steam for about 5 minutes. We killed the heat on this, by the way. Also, you can reuse your fryer oil. If you didn't know that, you can. You can use it many times until it either A, starts to smell weird, B, gets really dark and smells weird. Just because it gets dark doesn't mean it's not usable. You don't want to get it black, but like if it's kind of like a darker brown, it might still be okay. But you don't want it to taste bad. Like if you've ever been to a restaurant, or I'll never forget, we went to this hotel when we were on the road. We were traveling somewhere, and when I travel and I go somewhere that I'm not sure of, I almost always get fried food for the simple fact that I have the least amount of chance of getting sick. You can still easily get sick from fried food. You know, it's all about how they handle it once it's cooked. But the nice thing about deep fried food is it cooks at such a hot temperature that the bacteria is probably dead. Now, the toxins the bacteria may have put on it is a different story. The fact whether the cook wore gloves or not, or used clean utensils, that's a whole other story as well. But for the most part, if you eat fried food, you're probably not going to get sick. So anyway, so we're at this hotel. It's like some shithole, like, I don't even want to say holiday. It was like some like budget motel of some sort. And we had to eat. We hadn't eaten. And I got something deep fried. I don't even remember. It's probably like mozzarella sticks or something, whatever they had on the menu. And it tasted like the grossest dirty fryer oil. And if you've not had dirty fryer oil, bless your heart. It is a distinct, atrocious flavor. And basically, if your oil gets to that level, just throw it out. Use fresh oil. It's not worth it. You can taste the difference. But my point is just because it's brown doesn't necessarily mean it tastes like that. So you can smell it. Like, honestly, when you turn the fryer on or when you smell the oil, it smells different. It gets a different smell. I can't explain it. It just smells like dirty oil. And throw that out and use fresh. But this oil Yeah, no problem. Here, I'll show you what bad oil looks like. This is what bad oil looks like. This is pretty dark. And honestly, this isn't even too dark, but I can tell you that I've used it so much, it stinks. It smells like fish, and oh, it smells rancid. So, yeah, you don't want to use that. You want nice, clean, fresh smelling oil. And again, you know, it's going to have some smells. You cook chicken, you cook fish, you cook French fries, and it's going to have a little bit of a smell, but they should be pleasant smells. All right, let's stir this guy up a little bit. So you see they're nice and green. That's that steam cooking it. I'm going to turn this up all the way because it's doing really nicely. I'm not worried about it burning. So we're going to get a little bit extra heat in here and hopefully a little bit of browning. These green beans still need about another 3 to 4 minutes, I'd say. Did I turn it on Celsius? Yeah, I did. I can't read Celsius. I've tried. It's not for me. I'm going to clean while I wait. I've tried learning metric. I mean, I guess it's just like any other recipe, I suppose. You know, you just follow it and you just use a scale. But in terms of like understanding how it compares to ounces, I don't have a clue. I mean, I know the conversion, you know, but that's not what I mean. So, like, if you told me 10 grams, I wouldn't know what that looks like. I know that that's about a third of an ounce, but like, shit, I don't know. So one of the things with potatoes, the reason why I'm doing this right now is because they turn into frickin' wall paste. If you don't at least, oops. If you don't at least get it off of whatever it is that you use to make mashed potatoes, it will become hard as a rock, and good luck getting it off later. So it's always better to scrape it early. All right, so now you see, okay, so I turned it up, right? Now we're getting some browning here, which is exactly what I want. So I took the lid off. We're gonna stir this a bit more consistently. Oh, that smells good. It smells like a restaurant in here. Oh, excuse me, my eye itches. All right. So this needs another couple of minutes. Let me taste one of these green bean pieces. Not that one. Let's see. It's still quite hard. So I'm gonna lid it again. I'm gonna lid it and I'm gonna turn it down a touch because it definitely needs to just cook more. If you felt more comfortable, you could put some water in it and really let it steam. I think I'm gonna be all right just with what it's got, but we'll see. And the chicken's gonna carry over cook. It's gonna cook all the way in this oven. You know, all that heat on the outside is gonna permeate all the way through, make sure the chicken's fully cooked. I got no concerns there. This guy out here. Maybe I'll do a Saturday where I show you guys how to make chicken stock and probably an Instapot because it's fast, and then how to make a glace. I mean, really, it's pretty freaking easy, but I don't know. Maybe it'd be worthwhile. So, anyway, let me throw this out here while we're standing around waiting for things to cook. We just started watching Big Mouth again. I don't know if y'all have seen that show. One of our favorites is season what is it? Season 3? Pretty hilarious. So anyway. I'm listening to the green beans, and I can hear that there's not a lot of water in it. I can hear that it's searing. I can smell that it's searing, which tells me that I definitely need to stir it. Look at that. That's Mom would be proud. All right, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna add a little bit of our glace here. Just like that. Not literally just a little. I don't want a lot here. So we're gonna add some nice umami, some real depth to the green beans. Oh yeah, you see that glaze? It's already on there. All right, now we're gonna finish it with the butter. And this is gonna finish that glaze look. And we're stirring it the way that I'm stirring it, so that all those liquids, the little bit of liquid that's in there, it emulsifies nicely with the butter. If I were to stop and have a broken, kind of messed up green bean. All the butter's melted. Let's check the seasoning. Perfectly cooked. Need more salt. Stir it again. Perfect. Nail it. All right. Let's plate it up. All right, so I always like to do starches. Get out of here. Sorry, dog's in the way. All right, I always like to do starches first. Not that it matters. I mean, I'm just cooking for my wife and I. But if you care, starches first. Ooh, that's hot. Makes sense. It was in an oven. All right, so again, this is my wife and I, so we're not looking for a ton of food. So a nice, fair amount of mash. It's probably too much. Looks like that'll be my plate. This will be my wife's plate. All right. We'll take these green beans here. And just so you know, this is for like a couple of nights of food. I didn't make all this for just one night for my wife and I. We're not 1,000 pounds. So there's that. And now for the piece de la resistance, the fried chicken. Right there. I had a chef who called this the cock and balls plating, which it kind of is. Chef Dave in banquets. So there you go. That is your American fried chicken dinner right there. Looks nice, right? It's good shit. Let's try a bit. Oh, hang on. You gotta hear this. Oh yeah. Oh, sounds so good. I'm literally drooling. Come here, everybody. Oh, the fresh garlic is good. Didn't burn. I might have to consider changing the recipe. And you see how flaky and layered that dredge is? And I know that I'm eating chicken skin and fat. But if you don't like chicken skin and fat deep fried, stop watching my channel. This is delicious. That's so good. That's so good. How is there not like that in a chip bag? I don't know. All right, well, that's all I got. I'm gonna stop the stream now. I'm gonna eat dinner with my family. I'm not jumping back on. I'm done. So enjoy. I'll post this in highlights and on YouTube. All right, I'll see you guys.